Na 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 na. Hey YouTube, welcome back to another exciting episode of Vin Plays Yahoo Fantasy Football. This is our Week 8 starter show where I go over my start-sit decisions, more or less based on current news and my matchup with this week's opponent. So let's go ahead and jump into my team. Quick news on the waiver wire front. It was pretty quiet for us. All we did was basically pick up Carlos Hyde for Tony Pollard. Yeah, I dropped Tony Pollard. I put about a $3 bid on Carlos Hyde. There are question marks as to whether or not he's going to play this week. There's actually question marks as to whether Chris Carson is going to play this week too. I just read on the news that Pete Carroll, their coach, said that there's a chance that Chris Carson plays this week, that he's going to be a game time decision. So we'll see about that. I knew going into it that Carlos Hyde was also going to be questionable, but I figured that if Chris Carson is going to miss more games, if he's going to be out longer rather than sooner, then it'll behoove us to have his handcuff in Carlos Hyde. So yeah, I went ahead and picked him up for about $3 fab. As far as the other news for our team, Deebo Samuel is out this week and is likely going to be out this week and next week. He did suffer a hamstring injury, which was super disappointing because he has been performing well since he came back from his prior injury, his off-season injury. But yeah, right now he's a low man on our totem pole right now. He's a low man on the totem, so to speak. So if we need to drop somebody, he will probably be the one that we get rid of. Otherwise, not really news, but Antonio Gibson is also not available to us because the Washington football team is on bye right now. Okay, I believe that's all of our roster news right now. Let's go ahead and go through the matchups. Aaron Rodgers versus Minnesota. This should be a smash spot. This is a super plus matchup here. And this is our second time playing Minnesota. And as you can see there, when I played them during week 1, he scored 38 fantasy points. We're not expecting maybe not that high, but anything short of 30 points, 25, 30 points is going to be disappointing for us. And I really think that he's going to get there this week. Full confidence in Aaron Rodgers. And, just going down the list, Davante Adams, same thing. Looking back to week 1 when they played before, 34 fantasy points. I'm expecting Davante Adams to smash and smash hard this week. 20 plus points is well within the realm of possibility. So let's go ahead and go down the list here. Okay, we do have Robert Woods. I am starting Robert Woods in the wide receiver spot because he is playing earlier in the week. Earlier in the day, that is on Sunday. But this is kind of a neutral to maybe negative matchup here. He is playing Miami, which isn't the best defense, but they do have good cornerbacks, particularly Xavier Howard. He's good and he's back. I believe he's coming back from injury. So Robert Woods does move around the field a bunch, so he's probably not going to be shadowed, but he is going to be covered by, we expect him to be covered by Xavier Howard through some of the game, and that'll dampen his numbers. We're not expecting him to blow up this week. Going down the list, Josh Jacobs. He should have a bounce back this week. Cleveland is more of a neutral matchup, maybe a neutral to slightly negative matchup. Cleveland's defense is better, that is, up front. So against the run, they're a little bit better as opposed to their secondary anyways. But we're expecting Josh Jacobs to come back from last week because he just performed so poorly last week. He only gave us like 4 fantasy points, I believe. Yeah, like 4 fantasy points. So there's only the only place to go from here is up. Going down the list, we actually have Giovanni Bernard. As of right now, it's kind of It's not known whether or not Joe Mixon is going to play. If Joe Mixon is out, then we're definitely going to be starting Gio Bernard. He performed pretty well last week. He did score a touchdown. Didn't do so much on the ground, but he did catch a bunch of passes, which is what he does. But if we can't start Giovanni Bernard, we do have a couple of different options. DeAndre Swift, we do have him available. Yeah, you know, he is available, but he is up against Indiana this week, and Indiana does have a really tough defense. So DeAndre Swift, yeah, we are reluctant to start him this week, although he is getting more work as the weeks go by. Yeah, either DeAndre Swift or hopefully if Carlos Hyde plays, we would play Carlos Hyde here. Carlos Hyde or Chris Carson, that is. If Chris Carson plays, then yeah, we're probably starting Chris Carson over Gio Bernard. It's like, how can I sit Chris Carson? Well, you know what? Actually, now that I think of it, though, he is playing San Francisco. So if he does play this week, playing San Francisco, which is the ultimate worst matchup. Well, it's up there. Top 3 worst matchups in the league. On top of Chris Carson's injury, like if he does play, he will still be coming back from that injury, so there would be that risk for re-injury. So yeah, actually, you know what? Even if Chris Carson plays, I would lean towards starting Bernard. That is, if Joe Mixon doesn't play. If Joe Mixon is playing, then we're probably dropping Bernard. So depending on, you know, maybe we'll keep him. But as of right now, I think they have a bye after this week. So yeah, if Joe Mixon plays, then depending on who's on the waiver wire, we may or may not drop him. He'll easily become the low man on the totem, though, if Joe Mixon does play this week. Let's go down the list here. We do have Darren Waller. We are expecting a pretty smash spot here. Like I was alluding to earlier, Cleveland's defense is softer in the secondary. So we are expecting Darren Waller to do pretty well. At the very least, well, maybe not the very least, we expect him to be in and around his projected points right there. 10 to 12 points would be fine, but it wouldn't be outside the realm of possibility for him to have an explosion week this week. And then in our flex right now, we have Allen Robinson. He is in our flex right now because not only is he playing a little bit later on Sunday, but he is also in the concussion protocol. And from some of the Twitter news that I'm reading right now, particularly from David Chow, the fantasy football doc, or the pro football doc that I always go to for injury news, I suggest you guys do so as well. He is very insightful when it comes to injuries. I will leave a link to his website below. And you know, on top of that, his website is completely free. You do have to sign up for an account, but otherwise, you know, there's no paywall. You know, everything is totally free. All his info is totally free. But yeah, he reading his website and reading his news on Allen Robinson, he does not expect Allen Robinson to play this week, or it's more likely that Allen Robinson does not make it out of concussion protocol by the time his game is on Sunday. More so or not because you know, he has a short week since they played on Monday and they're playing on Sunday. That's an extra day that they don't have for him to clear concussion protocol. So right now we're hopeful that he plays, but if he doesn't play, our options are pretty limited as well. You know, Deebo Samuel is out, so we cannot play him. We do have Marquise Brown here, who is playing against Pittsburgh. And across the field from Marquise Brown, we also have Deontay Johnson. So right now, if I were to choose between the two, I want to say I'd probably lean towards Deontay Johnson, but just because of how bad Baltimore's offense has looked, at least how bad their passing game has looked, Lamar Jackson has not been passing well. Although, you know, they are coming off a bye, so maybe they work some things out. A lot of teams improve a bit after their bye, after they've reconsidered, their schemes and some of the things that they're doing after they've made adjustments essentially. But yeah, right now it'd be a coin flip. Both of these matchups are awful just because their defenses are so good. Pittsburgh defense is top 3. Baltimore's defense is top 3. Not only that, but Baltimore traded for I forget who, but they traded for more pieces on their defensive side, which probably will make them better, even better than they already are. So yeah, hopefully Allen Robinson plays, but if not, it'll be a coin flip. We'll probably look to the footballers rankings here to see who we may or may who we lean towards starting. But going back to Allen Robinson though, his matchup, even if he plays, isn't all that great. Against New Orleans, he probably will be shadowed by Lattimore, or will be covered mostly by Lattimore, which is going to be a rough matchup for him. And he did come through a bit last week, his floor of 9 points, which is fine. But yeah, he did not get a ton of targets last week though, because he's been averaging around, I want to say 8 to 10 targets. Yeah, even more than that, 16. Wow, where did he get 16 targets against Tampa Bay? Yeah, he's been hovering around 10 targets a game. But last game against the Rams, he only got 4 targets. And if he's shadowed again by Lattimore, because last game versus the Rams, he was shadowed by Jalen Ramsey. So we'll see how that goes. And this might be a moot point since Allen Robinson might not even play this week. But that pretty much goes over my starter situation right now. Let's go ahead and jump into our matchup and look at the other team. Right now, this week, for week 8, we are playing against the drafted. His team going down his starters, notably Tom Brady. Tom Brady is on fire. He scored 5 touchdowns, I think, last game. And now against the New York Giants, so this should be another pretty smash spot here. The only thing that gives us a little bit of comfort is that he is missing some players. Well, he is missing a big player in his offense in Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin surprisingly broke his finger last game catching a touchdown pass. So Chris Godwin will be missing this week, maybe next week. But from what I've read about his injury, though, people are expecting him back sooner rather than later. Going down the list, Stefon Diggs. Stefon Diggs, that team hasn't been performing too well lately. Josh Allen has kind of turned back into a pumpkin over the last few games. And yeah, against New Jersey, which should have been a smash spot for Stefon Diggs, he only got 7 fantasy points. And now he's up against New England, and he will probably getting coverage from Stephon Gilmore, which is a very negative matchup for him. We're not expecting much from him. Although Stefon Diggs is good enough to overcome any matchup, but on top of Josh Allen not playing well, and the Buffalo offense just not playing well in general, on top of the coverage from Stephon Gilmore, we are not expecting too much from him. I feel pretty good about this matchup, knock on wood. Julio Jones, on the other hand, should have more of a smash matchup here. Carolina is more of a neutral matchup. Their defense is okay, more or less average to above average. So up against Julio, he will probably get his projected points, if not more. That is a scary matchup there. Todd Gurley, same matchup against Carolina. If he scores, then he's going to have a good week. So and he's been scoring. He's been scoring almost every game, I think. So yeah, pretty much we just cross our fingers that he doesn't score a touchdown this week. Let's go ahead and go over to Dalvin Cook, the next guy on for our opponent. Dalvin Cook is expected back from everything that I'm reading. He probably will play this week. And he's up against the Green Bay Packers, who are just god-awful at defending the run. So this should be a hardcore smash spot for him. We are more or less expecting him to explode here. Dalvin Cook is very scary this week. Yeah, this is going to be rough. But let's go ahead and go down the line here. We do have Noah Fant. Noah Fant, from what I've read anyways, he did not look right the last game. He looked like he was still being hobbled by his injury, the injury that's been keeping him out the last couple of games. I believe it's an ankle injury. So you know what, if he is playing, then another week's worth of rest should be beneficial to him, but we'll see right now. I think there's a chance that he doesn't even suit up for this game. So if he does play though, the Chargers, I want to say the Chargers are a pretty neutral matchup. So getting his projected points, that's within the realm of possibility. Maybe dampened a bit just because of the recent injury history that he has with his ankle. Let's go ahead and move on to Travis Fulgham. Has turned into Carson Wentz's favorite target. He's easily been getting I think around 10 targets every game. So, and not only that, but he has one of the best matchups in the league right now. The Eagles are playing up against the Dallas Cowboys, which is everybody's doormat, at least defensively and offensively now, because Andy Dalton probably won't even play. And, you know, just in general, because Andy Dalton hasn't really done much. More or less because of their offensive line is just so banged up. They just can't stop anybody. But Fulgham against Dallas, this is going to be scary. He's getting volume, and he's up against a really bad Dallas team. This is a super plus matchup for him. Fulgham is scary as well. Going down the list, the kicker, who really cares? The Raiders kickers, I guess they're going against Cleveland. That's a neutral matchup. The Dolphins versus the Rams. And actually, you know what? I do have the Rams, so I do have the Rams defense. I forgot to talk about them. But let's talk about Miami first. Miami, you know, I think this is a pretty neutral matchup. I want to say that it'll be better for the Rams versus Miami, just because of the unknown, since Miami does have the unknown of their quarterback, because Tua Tagovailoa, I was recently corrected on my pronunciation for his name. Apparently there's a Tagovailoa, I believe is how you correctly pronounce his name. I'm probably still butchering it, but I believe that is closer to the correct pronunciation. But yeah, there's some question marks on their offense right now. Although, you know, I think Devontae Parker should be healthier, and I think Preston Williams is back as well, because I think he was injured for a minute. But yeah, against the Rams, Goff hasn't been looking great, but he hasn't been looking completely awful either. I think it's pretty much neutral here. Right now, I am running with the Rams defense against Miami, that is. So we are hoping that maybe Tua needs to shake off some rust, or needs to shake off some rookie nerves, and maybe he throws a couple of picks or so. But anyways, let's go down the list. No, I think that's pretty much it, yeah. So who would you start? Are there any tough decisions that you're brooding over with your lineups? I want to know. Go ahead and comment below. And thanks again so much for watching another episode of Vin Plays Yahoo Fantasy Football, and I'll see you next time.